Great to have you with us. Now, some senior high schools in the country are at the moment struggling to feed Form 1 students following the failure of the National Buffer Stock Company to supply food to schools as agreed under the free SHS policy. Odogono Senior High School is just one of the many schools contending with this challenge. There's more in the following Joy News Agenda report put together by Matilda Wemega.
At the Odogono Senior High School, it is a daily struggle to provide food for the students. This 77-year-old senior high school located in Accra is contending with the challenge of feeding its students since the inception of the free senior high school policy. There are 2,673 students in this school. Headmistress of the Odogono Senior High School, who is also the national treasurer for the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, Dr. Shine Fori says the situation is critical and needs government's urgent intervention.
The challenge we have is the supply of foodstuff. Buffer Stock was given that responsibility to give us the non-perishable items, the merchandise, the cereals, etc. And they are not coming forth. So it's become a problem.
For this 2 months period?
Yeah, they are not coming. They are coming with little bits that don't even reach a day's supplies. And so what we are doing is we are using the Form 2, Form 3 students' foodstuff to feed the Form 1s. And our stock is depleted. So it's a big challenge we have now. It hasn't been easy. When you go out, some people in the hinterlands tell you they have not even received anything from the beginning of the year, the academic year. And it's a serious situation because we are feeding adolescent students. Those in the boarding house, they are taking 3 meals a day. The day students are taking 1 meal a day. It hasn't been easy. When you get to the dining hall, you realize that the Form 1 students in my school, they are more than half the population in the dining hall. So the question is, how are we feeding them? And we are only hoping that they would come quickly with the supplies. Else it can create problems for running the school.
Have you reported this issue already?
Yes, it's a known thing. Yes, it's a known thing. Because we are to be reporting regularly on how things are going in the schools. And we were given the numbers of the people to call at the Buffer Stock. Yesterday, for example, my matron came to me and I called the operator at director of operations at Buffer Stock. I called and called, I didn't get him.
But with what you have in store, is this something that can take you for the rest of the period?
How can that take us through? That is the challenge we are having. It cannot take us to the end of term. As at now, we have difficulties.
So how are you surviving?
So we are only waiting for some change to come. We have written to DG that this is what is going on, and we need an immediate intervention in this matter so that the schools don't run down. And we are waiting to get a response quickly from him.
Would you describe this as an emergency situation for the school?
Should I? I really don't know how to describe it. But we need immediate intervention, which across the country, we all need that quick intervention.
Before the commencement of the policy, the school's administrators were responsible for contracting food suppliers. Under the free SHS policy, the National Buffer Stock Company is the sole supplier of food to the various high schools. It's been 2 months since the inception of the policy, but some schools are yet to get their supplies. Beyond feeding students, the school is also dealing with infrastructural issues.
My class, we are about 46, but the desks are few. Some are even pairing. So I urge that we should get more desks. And also in my dormitory, the space there is also very small. I hope if they can extend it for us.
This situation is hampering academic work. Headmistress Dr. Shine Fori and her staff are trying very hard to manage the challenges in the school.
We do not have enough classrooms for them, and then enough monodesks for them. So in the classroom, some are sitting 2-2, and that does not augur well for academic progress.
Critics of the free SHS policy have always argued that the quality of education at this level will be sacrificed with its implementation. Until government takes urgent steps to deal with these challenges, they might just be proving their critics right. For Joy News, Matilda Pomaga, Accra.
Away from education now, and in Kumasi, police and military personnel have been deployed to force defiant traders off the pavement and other unauthorized places. It follows the traders' refusal to comply with an order by city authorities for all traders and transport operators to relocate to the city's racecourse and other designated markets. Some of the affected business people have argued they have been unable to secure spaces at the new sites. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah reports.
The Kumasi Traditional Council teamed up with Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly to relocate traders occupying pavements and unauthorized places in Kumasi last week. The move follows an eviction notice served by the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council calling for vacation of such places by Monday. The arrangement also precedes the final funeral rites of the late Asantehema Efiakobi Sewampem II. The movement of traders from some parts of Edum, Kejetia, Pampaso and the Kumasi Zoo has, however, suffered a setback. Security forces were seen standing at vantage points in the central business district, but the traders wouldn't have any of that.
Region where we are standing specifically is a PZ Edum. As you can see, the streets are hollow, the streets are empty. There used to be cars all around here, taxi cabs and also trotro, but they are all not here as a result of the decongestion exercised by the KMA. Today they've been police and also joint military and police action. The traders are still back on the road. We're going to speak with them why they decided to stand in the streets and do their business. That's for us. I say military and police but what that's why I didn't.
Oh, and I said that's why I say anybody. Obie no ma opesa trap come to there. So that say na so say there yempane phone be this one. E kwan for so amu si shema no ye dwan entiase. Enipa so opesa obi wo.
There should have been a proper dialogue. Evicting us when you are in power isn't proper. I don't like the military action.
Who count two omo? Ebi omo enipa dia 40,000 50,000. That's what people more omoko. E person trap council. I say na mo sure say military no sabe. Military dia. Me hano hanya Afghanistan o. Akontakwa ha. We mo say military e dia chiri.
Na say be a ofie wo no. Ye be tu free wa. Ontimi nyede, ontimi free ho kwa. Oba gina gina wa kra say be ya. So ho de na ntimi ansa na we kwa na wako.
Ande wo ho. Yes ye gu ha ye nkotena ho. E fa ankosie ye say ha ye bode e hema entosi hema. We
can't vacate here easily like that. No matter the force, we would have to return.
Yes, me cry me buy I am to see a family, Makotolati a family, Duomu mobile. Yes, Ropa, Bano Cradi, one BB. Yes,
we are afraid of the military action.
Almost 1 million mobile.
And it's my energy. None your mentality and say, me MPP Nipio, and this time I'm on 2 years. Mama party person.
The Abinchi market is not conducive for us. They have sold them out to others. I am a member of the NPP. We want Nanado to take action.
And yes, MPP for I'm on good anymore as if I am MPP.
Baby, I'm the honey, my Seven previous, some more Mafidi any drew or Monia or Kama.
Okay. The Abinchi market is not properly arranged to accommodate us. We went there but couldn't get a place.
And I only have been soon to me quite an hour's away a day. Okay, just a baby hour now. Ube question we now we are the
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Back to the capital now, and there was wild jubilation at the Abosi-Okai Spare Part Hub after the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta read his first budget in 2017. The minister had announced plans that President Akufo-Addo-led government would abolish some taxes, including import duties on specific vehicle parts. After the 2018 budget was read yesterday, with the Finance Minister reiterating the point about the scrapping of the taxes on specific vehicle parts, we have been finding even asked from the spare parts dealers whether this has reflected in their pockets.
And you remember that in the 2017 budget, when the finance minister read the budget, I mean, a lot of the spare parts dealers here were raptured into a state of hilarity. They were cited because the finance minister announced that they were going to abolish some taxes. The one that, you know, they were directly connected to was the one that had to do with the importation of spare parts. A lot of them here were very excited. In fact, yesterday, when the finance minister read the budget, in fact, he reiterated that they have indeed abolished the tax on the importation of specific vehicle parts. Well, today we are here at Abosu Okana, as rightly mentioned, to find out from some of these spare parts dealers how they feel about it, and then 1 year on, what it has been like, you know, for them.
They are still paying the taxes, and even if some of us, we are not, the reason whether we are not feeling it as it's supposed to be is it's not all of us that can go to port. Only a few people can import goods, and we are retailers. If only the few people, those who can come in with the goods, they are about 10 or 100 people. And with the retailer, we are more than them, meaning those who are bringing the goods will enjoy that taxes. We at Abosu Okana retailers, we are not benefiting anything from that.
Last year budget and this year's budget, I know, sir, this only 1 year. You can't adjust any government. You can't give it judgment. So 1 year, let's give them opportunity, or let's give them small time. He can do it. I know that Nana can do it. Because if you go port now, everything is very, very, very good. Everything is going well. Because our Excellency Vice President has told us that if you go Harbour, you spend more time. It is going well. See, I cleared my container only last week. Only 4 hours. Container is out.
Wow.
Yes.
Is it because of the paperless?
Yes, that paperless is going well. Okay. It's very, very, very good idea. So I will support the government to do it. Because only 1 year, you can't judge him. Let's give it about 1 or 2 years. He can deliver.
Well, he's saying, your colleague is saying that he's not feeling, you know, the tax cuts, you know.
Still watching Joy News today, and we'll stay with issues having to do with the budget that has been read, because chief among the policies of the current administration is the industrialization of the nation, including the creation of 216 district factories. There was also the creation of strategic anchor industries and industrial parks with the purpose of migrating our economy from taxation to production. Government has, however, been accused of being overambitious and unrealistic with its targets, especially since after 10 months in office, these factories are yet to be constructed. We have with us the Vice Chairman of the Trade, Industry and Tourism Committee of Parliament, MP for Shama Ato Pamford, to help us understand government's roadmap for industrialization in the coming year. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you, Daniel.
So help us understand, you promised we promised to see 10 factories in June. Now we are saying that we'll see over 100 of them before the end of the year. How come we are seeing this delay?
Thank you very much, Daniel, and then good afternoon to all our viewers and the listeners. I think, to me, I think what we're trying to do is trying to make sure that we put on the whole foundation blocks in a better structure to ride upon it. Now we must know that this budget, 2018 budget, you know, stands to put certain key things in terms of power, energy, that sort of thing, in the perspective to be able to boost up industry. We want to really change the dynamics. If we have to drive them in all the 275 districts of the whole nation, then we need to carefully look at what each district brings on board. Now, where we are now is that, we are at the point where the DITs, the district implementation teams, are going on the grounds to look at all those projects which has been, shortlisted for its full implementation. So now the next thing that we are going to see is that we will be seeing these DITs moving on to review most of all those sort of proposals, and then from there forwarded back to the ministry for us to quickly start the implementation.
But why couldn't we do all these? Because we had the impression that all this had been done, and as soon as we come in, we'll begin seeing the factory springing up soon.
Yes, in fact, in terms of the research and on the kind of raw materials and etc. that are endowed within specific, districts. I think all these data are all there already. But, one of the components is that you must have a promoter from the private sector to indicate that, yes, I'm interested in this kind of business or that's so that we can synchronize it up. The government's policy and whole target is at least get one exportable commodity from each district. And by that, and we send out at least one factory per district. And then by that, we can have some other rippling ones, Okay. When you come to Shama like this, we're looking at a fishing net, and ropes manufacturing factory there. It was surprising to know that the whole of ECOWAS, there's no fishing net and accessories production here. It is only in Ghana that we have the fishing floats, which one of our companies were doing in the past. But now we have to look at what are we going to do to also be able to drive out, to balance our trade and etc. And that is through export. And so we must be able to look at these exportable commodities. So
what caused the delay in what you're telling me is finding the private sector participation to be able to partner governments to set up these factories?
Yes, the ministry has been able to receive a lot of proposals, but then the promoters will have to engage the district assemblies and then also make sure that, all their corporate structures are right in the place. And these exercise and screen has been done. Now, what we are doing or where we are now from the Ministry of Trade, not to speak for them, but then, because I work with them most of the time, I know what actually is being done, is that we are at a point where we're going to pick up the financing point. And then we need to look at all the corporate structures and everything, that everything is in place. Then we can link them to the financing. I'm sure you're very aware about the GCB's, commitment to do almost about 2 billion Ghana cedis in terms of that, and then the grant component also that to facilitate the financials, write-ups, and then the business.
Isn't this cost coming to the taxpayer eventually, because GCB is largely a state asset?
No, I'm talking about GCB, Ghana Commercial Bank.
Yeah, but fact, GCB is owned majority.
Yeah, no, but it's social corporate responsibility component is where they are putting up the grant to do that. But then, at the rate at which they are trying to give to their promoters, I think it's quite a very interesting point to look at it. We are positioned to try and drive industry, and then I think that is key thing that we are trying to do. But then the financial institutions or the DFIs who have now come on board are all looking at the possibilities of.
But how did we miss the June deadline of 10 factories?
The June deadline, not that we missed that. There were initial groundworks that nice, and then we've been able to go through that. So they have been prepared, like I was saying, that most of them are now ready to assess the facilities which are available now.
Right. So, Mr. Pamford, before you let us go, there's a plan for industrial parks on the ground.
Yes, I think, almost every region is supposed to be creating a mega industrial park. And then for me and then Shama, we are quite opportune that we already even have a free zones enclave there, which is going to be converted into an industrial park. And then with this one, I think there's even a company called the Black ID, who has come to pick up a portion of free zones, and then they started clearing the place, preparing for interested, promoters or investors to come over there and then start doing business. And I think when we're able to put them into those parks, these industrial parks, that's where access, giving them the utilities and etc. will be quite easy. For example, Shama district, I always use my own constituency and my district. That from that point, you see, we are generating power from Abuaza thermal plant and then distributing all of onto the grid. But then the question is that why don't we drop power onto these enclaves and then make sure that we boost up the So that's the intent, and then that's what we are trying to do.
Okay, so I'm sure we'll be getting more details on that in our later bulletins. Thank you very much, Ato Pamford is Vice Chairman of the Trade, Industry and Tourism Committee of Parliament. Let's stay with the conversation of the budget. A big talking points from there, chief among which being the ranking member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, Adam Mutawakilo, has delivered a damning verdict of Wednesday's budget statement as regards the energy sector. He says Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will find it extremely difficult to effect the 11 to 21% reduction in electricity tariffs. He is convinced the government will only reduce the tariffs by a negligible figure, bringing the impact on the consumer to naught. Mr. Mutawakilo was speaking on News Desk earlier today.
About what will be the impact on electricity bill of the ordinary Ghanaian. That is the most important thing. It's not, so if you have 1 million, you pay 100 cedis a month, with the 13%, you expect to pay 77. Is it really the case? I think that at the end of the day, the difference will be so insignificant.
13 cedis is quite...
No, I'm not talking... It won't be 13 cedis.
Why won't it be 13 cedis?
Because the system cannot absorb that. Let them go to the tariff structure and look at it and do either the electricity charge, or they want to increase the bound and all those things. It will become difficult to absorb the 13.
So you are saying that government will not be able to effect a reduction of 13% as
I have a doubt. I have a doubt, a great doubt. Looking at the reckoner that I studied and the tax structure, the tariff structure, it will be difficult for the residential to hit that. It will be difficult. You know, there are several factors that is why I say first, exchange rate. The cedi we know very well is not stable. The fuel mixed, we know that it is. MIDA is coming in September, and there will be a tariff review. In next year, there will be major tariff review as well. And the indicators are not pointing. While we are doing we will look vis-a-vis the independent power producers. That if they realize that they are not meeting their target, they can decide not to be producing much, but they will still take what we call capacity charges to cover the cost of the equipment.
Now, he expressed pity for the CEO of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC.
Government must not preempt by putting a regulator that is independent of the government, the institution, into this type of position. I pity the CEO of PURC, because by now here his team are saying government said 13% for residential, 21% for high mining and what. So how do we achieve it? But if the government has sought approval from PURC...
But again, we don't know the discussions that have happened before they came to present this budget.
As far as we are concerned, government is here to send its recommendations to PURC. So we can't lift any veil to see what happened behind. If something happened behind, that would have been government sending the recommendation to PURC. PURC approve of the recommendations, then government comes to tell the people that this is what reduction that will take effect from January 1st. But as we speak, we don't know when it will take effect. Is it January 1st, 2018, or February or March? We don't yet know. So customers shouldn't jubilate about a reduction. There's no reduction as we speak. And we don't know how much the reduction will be until PURC approve.
Now, away from issues to do with the budget, now Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia has described former Vice President Aliyu Mahama as selfless and kind. According to him, the former statesman played a significant role in his election as Vice President of the Republic. He revealed that his dedication to the development of Zongos is what government is emulating to ensure that Zongos are developed. Vice President in the Esther Kufuor administration, Alhaji Aliyu Mahama, died 5 years ago.
Exactly 5 years ago, Ghana lost the longest-serving vice president within the Fourth Republic. Today, members of government, people in the opposition, friends, family are here to remember the good works of Aliyu Mahama. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia today described him as kind and selfless.
One of the people who really stood up and made the case that yes, Nana, go for this young man was Alhaji Aliyu Mahama. And he made it a point, and this is why I forever will be grateful to him. He was just so selfless. He said that he was going to hold my hand. He told me, he said, I'm going to hold your hand and help you to become vice president of this country.
One key thing he mentioned was also about the fact that their former vice president is the soul and heart behind the Zongo Development Fund being implemented by the new government.
I remember one of the conversations we had about the Zongo community, and he said, you know, the MPP as a party has a lot of work to do in the Zongos. But he said that we have to continue. He says, don't give up on the Zongos, because you have to continue to show that you care about the Zongos. In fact, I'll tell this story today. The story of the Zongo Development Fund started with Alhaji Aliyu Muhammad.
You're still watching Joy News Today. Time for a quick break. We have more stories afterwards. Thanks for staying with us. And the 9-member Commission of Inquiry set up by President Akufo-Addo to facilitate the creation of additional regions is set to begin its first public hearing from petitioners for the new regions. 6 petitions have already been received by the Commission ahead of a referendum for addition of new regions by the end of 2018. Minister for Regional Reorganization Dan Botwe has been addressing the media this morning on the work of the Commission so far.
They sent to them, they have gone through, they have been meeting, perusing it, but they should come and explain to them more. This is the purpose for the sitting in Accra. The 6 sittings they are going to have in Accra is for that purpose. After that, they will move to their regions and get to know, because if you go to the constitutional provisions of Article 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4 that are read, their purpose is that, for example, 5.4 says that the Commission should find out whether there's a substantial need. Is there a need and a substantial demand for the creation? 5.4, where a commission of inquiry appointed under clause 2 or 3 of this article finds that there's the need and a substantial demand for the creation, alteration, or measure referred to in either of those clauses, it shall then recommend to the president that the referendum to be held. This actually is the purpose for this meeting. But since I took you from the earlier engagement that some of you were even aware, maybe I should as well continue. After these engagements, 5.4 states that the Commission shall recommend to the President that a referendum be held, specifying the issues to be determined by the referendum and the places where the referendum should be held. This is what the Constitution says. 5.5 will also tell you that after the Commission has finished its work, and in the CI, the President gave the Commission not later than 6 months, unless maybe they make a special plea for extension of time. It's about 6 months. Article 5.5 says, the President shall refer the recommendations to the Electoral Commission, and the referendum shall be held in a manner prescribed by the Electoral Commission. After their work, there will be a referendum, depending on the recommendations they make.
Now, on the issue of how much it will cost government to create the new regions, Dan Botwe says they are yet to come up with a budget.
Institutions, they submit their budget as and when they are assigned a responsibility to do. For example, in the course of this work, we felt that an institution like the National Commission for Civic Education should be abreast of what is going on. They should understand the processes, and they should be able to explain to the people, because many people did not even know that the Constitution actually addresses this matter. And all sorts of people have all sorts of interpretations, surprisingly, even very learned people. So we felt that no, people should be educated about this. So we have met the Commission. In fact, they had a seminar somewhere in Kwewu where all the regional directors and staff were there, and we went and had interaction with them. And we are starting to try to engage them to undertake public education exercise. That, for example, I cannot tell you how much it will cost. They will have to do that. The next one is the Commission's work. I mean, as they move to the regions, if you are talking about fuel and accommodation, those logistics. Right. Then the next major one is the work of the Electoral Commission. As they conduct the referendum, how much it will cost to conduct the referendum. Exactly. So these are things that will come from those state institutions.
Now, traditional leaders of Dodo, traditional area in the KJB district of the Volta region, are appealing to governments to upgrade the Dodo Amanfrom Health Center to the status of a polyclinic. The health center, constructed in 1962, has seen no rehabilitation works. The deteriorating state of the facility necessitated an appeal from traditional authorities in the area for rehabilitation works to meet the healthcare demands of residents. Fred Kwame-Asari's report.
Dodo Amanfrom Health Center serves over 14,000 inhabitants in 18 farming communities in the KJB district. The facility, which serves about 50 clients daily, is yet to see rehabilitation works in its over 55 years existence. Its roofing had been leaking, resulting in parts of the ceiling decaying. Some electrical wires are exposed, leading to fire outbreaks. Experts say the entire facility needs to be rewired. The hospital also needs additional ward beds. A physician assistant, Dennis Gakogo, who is in charge of the day-to-day management of the health center, explained the situation to Joy News.
Outside here, OPD, we have 3 beds. Meanwhile, averagely, we cater for about 40 clients a day. And if the need be for detention for more than 3 simultaneously, you can imagine what happens. And at the end of it all, some end up receiving their care in plastic chair when the need be. When you get to the maternity side, the story is not different. They have about 5 or 6 bedsteads, but with only 3 mattresses.
Patients are compelled to share in sanitary facilities with residents as places of convenience located about 150 meters from the health center.
We have only 1 kVIP at the outskirts over there, which is quite a long distance from the facility. So you can imagine if a client is detained to pass the night here and the need for nature's call, he or she has to walk through this darkness down to where that KVIP is. And unfortunately, that only KVIP is being used by both the members in the community in the surrounding area. So it becomes what? Survival of the fittest.
The community has, through its self-help project, commenced construction of a new sanitary facility for the health center. The paramount chief of Dodo traditional area, Dasebre Oboni Sebewe IV, is appealing for a facelift to enable it to meet the health demands of the increasing population in his area.
Your health center. Health center, normally I have based our health center in 1962.
There are some challenges at the health center. The health center was constructed in 1962. It must be upgraded to the status of a polyclinic. We are pleading with the government to help rehabilitate the health center. We are farmers. We can't get all the needed health services here. NGOs can also help. We are pleading with them to help rehabilitate the health center for us. Residents in the area are optimistic a facelift will position the facility to satisfy their health needs. Fred Kwame-Asari's report for Joy News.
And that's it for today's bulletin of Joy News today. I am Daniel Daze. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for joining us.